Hey, it's Jesse from the Grawlix podcast. That's grawlixpodcast.com, and it is another Igniferous Tales. Today, it's an Igniferous Tales from the Quarter Bin, because my pull for today is from the Quarter Bin, or Quarter Box, at One Stop Comics of Fremont, Nebraska, and I found that for today, we have Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, issue number 2. So we're doing a DC injection. Oh yeah. A little bit harder to find DC books for some reason. It seems like when I go to, a dollar bin at a dollar store or at a con or whatever, and I look through the dollar box, it just seems like there is a ton of Marvel. I don't know why that is. Maybe because Marvel put out so many titles back in the 90s, because a lot of what I find is both Marvel and kind of from the 90s. A lot of times, not entirely. Like a lot of the ones I've been doing for this show have not specifically been for the 90s, but I've bought a few that are from the 90s, and we'll be doing those in the future for sure. But anyways, let's talk about Firestorm. I'm excited about this one, and usually when I look for these, I just look for something that's gonna pop out at me, like the first appearance of Glorian. That one, you go back and check it out. It's got Glorian surfing in on a rainbow, like that just jumps out at me. And this cover also jumped out at me. Okay, now just to be upfront with this, I really enjoyed this book, and I'll get into that. I mean, there's not a lot to skewer about this book, but one thing that I want to talk about is, okay, so issue 2. It is, what is it called? The Bludgeoning Black Bison versus the Fury of Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. But, so you've got, on the cover here, you've got Firestorm, and you've got the Black Bison, and they're versing, but then you got Firestorm in the clutches of Poop Man? Like a poop? That's Poop. I mean, I could give this cover to a third grader in my classroom, and they'd be like, Mr. Kiefer, there's a poop. That's a poop. Okay? I'm just see how many times I can say it. It's poop. It looks like poop. It's not a poop. It's actually like a caterpillar that goes all the way down here to the top of a mushroom. But I gotta tell you, I didn't see that mushroom at first. And I thought maybe it was a caterpillar, but I was like, why would you make it back? Why wouldn't it just be obvious? Well, okay, so if you take a closer look at this, yeah, it's a trick to go ahead and pull these guys forward. These guys are rendered and colored in their usual normal fashion, and then these guys are kind of pushed back into the background because they're far lesser importance to the story. You got the Mad Hatter back here and the White Rabbit, and this is the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. So it all starts to make sense, though. But I gotta admit, I bought this because it's the poop. All right. Anyways, so what's going on in this story? This is, I believe, probably the second issue of the first interaction between Firestorm and the Black Bison. And the Black Bison is in the story, they're all on a field trip. This all happens in issue 1. I don't have issue 1, but you kind of get a recap throughout issue 2 of what happened. So this is the aftermath. And basically, Ronnie Raymond's high school teacher takes them all out to a museum on a field trip. And then what happens is that there's an exhibit that was donated, and you find out the backstory to all that in this issue, that was donated to this museum. And it called to his teacher, and his teacher then was possessed by the spirit of his ancestor, and he became the Black Bison. So he's not in control of himself at this point. And he's basically going out and trying to avenge the wrongdoings of his people. The wrongdoings that were done to his people. So vengeance. He's like a spirit of vengeance again. But this one's a little more culturally specific, right? And I didn't know anything about this villain or this character. I don't even know if you'd classify him as a villain so much as just like a spirit of vengeance, kind of like the Spectre. You don't really call him a villain, but he doesn't always do things that you would align heroes with, right? And so, weird thing about Black Bison is he's like, well, what's his powers? Well, okay, his powers are to animate inanimate things. So this horse that he's riding around on is actually like a statue and stuff. And so that comes into play. Like you can try to like fight back at these things, but it doesn't hurt them because they weren't supposed to be moving around in the first place. So it's kind of a magic type of thing, right? So like he creates a stampede of carousel horses at one point, and the cops are shooting bullets at him, but it doesn't matter because they're not supposed to be moving anyways. So like bullets ain't gonna hurt them or make them stop moving, kind of thing. And so that's where these Alice in Wonderland things happen, is that the fight between Firestorm and the Black Bison takes place all over the place, and he gets knocked into like this children's park kind of thing, and that's where they have these statues of storybook characters and they come to life kind of thing. So yeah, it was a really interesting story. They figure out the crux of his powers and how to kind of release him from the possession of his the ancestors' possession of him, and so they kind of resolve it, but they also leave it open-ended so that the Black Bison could return in a future issue, and I'm assuming he does. I kind of looked on the fan wikis or whatever to see if there's more, and there's more, and he even shows up in the New 52 apparently. I don't know anything about that, but anyways, it was an interesting story. A couple of the things I didn't know about Firestorm that I found kind of fun were when they split, when Ronnie Raymond and Martin Stein, when they split back into their separate parts, because the two parts make a whole. I did not know that Martin Stein goes amnesia. Like, he doesn't remember the adventures. He has to be recapped. Like, Ronnie Raymond has to remind him. It's funny because he's present in the moment. Like, he's the inner voice of Ronnie Raymond. And Ronnie Raymond drives around the body, and Martin Stein's there in his head and helps him, you know, it's like a mentor voice in his head as he's doing all the superheroing. But apparently when they split back apart, Martin Stein doesn't remember any of that. So I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, this was a really good story, you know. It was the poop. All right, so part two of this thing, as we've kind of, I'm not going to do this forever, but I have a few more of these blind bags yet to do, because I bought a whole bunch of them that one day. I just kind of went crazy. So I got another Ushi bag ready, and this one's going to be a Marvel one, since I already did my DC injection. And let's see what I got, see if I have anything to say about it. All right, this time I was prepared. I even had a pair of scissors. And, oh, Black Widow. You know what? I don't know a lot about the Black Widow. I've enjoyed her in stories. She had a major part to play in Secret Empire. Major part to play. I'm not going to tell you much more than that because there's some pretty good spoilers there. And, you know, I mean, like, I don't think this is the last we've seen of Black Widow, but she kind of went rogue in Secret Empire. They kind of hint at what may be coming in Secret Empire. I think it was Omega was the follow-up book to that. And I've always enjoyed her in books like Daredevil. I get a lot more of her in Daredevil and sometimes in Spider-Man even, surprisingly. But she has like a complex relationship or backstory with Matt Murdock. Which you may or may not have even thought of, you know, because they don't ever, you know, they don't cross over when it comes to movies and the TV series. But yeah, so I just thought it was time to do another Igniferous Tales and to kick off the weekend correctly. So I hope you've enjoyed. I've enjoyed. Please, if you guys enjoy these videos or any of the content that we put out, please go ahead and like and subscribe and all the things for YouTube and VidMes and all the video things. But also, we'd love to get your feedback. We've been getting some nice letters at the letters@grawlixpodcast.com email address. And guys, check it out. We just recently released a Halloween audio drama. It was our Halloween special. And you can find that. You can find that. If you're not subscribed to our RSS feed, you should check that out. And you know, I did a little bit of voice acting. We all did a little bit of voice acting. I think it did all right. You know who else thought it did all right? Len Wein's widow, like, retweeted us on Twitter for this thing, and that is super cool. Had a lot of really good responses to that little, just little fun audio drama, amateur voice acting thing. All right, that's all I got for you today, and I'll talk to you next time when I find some other igniferous item to talk at you about. All right, we'll see you next time.